Hi guys, welcome back. Well, we're plugging right along on this 30-day challenge, and I've been putting it out on my other social medias, so on Facebook and on Instagram, and I've just been encouraging you guys, jump on board. I don't care that it's already the 5th. You can totally start. It's not too late to start your challenge, and in the next coming days, I'm going to be giving a shout out on here to all of the people that are also doing a challenge. Mine's opening tarot boxes. Yours can be whatever it is. But we've got something a little bit different planned for you today, so let's go ahead, grab a box, open it up, see what's in there. So this is going to be kind of different. This is actually a first on this channel. The box that I'm planning on opening today actually is something that I got on eBay, and this is actually not a new deck. It's a used deck. And I know some people might think, ugh, used decks. This is one of the videos that I was thinking of making, which is superstitions about tarot, things that people think about tarot that may or may not be true, and I don't know, misconceptions. I already did that one, misconceptions on tarot readers, but I have not done misconceptions about tarot cards. But I feel like other people have already made a lot of videos of that, so I don't know if I actually need to do it. So this box is coming from, it's actually an APO address. Isn't that an army? Doesn't that mean Army Post Office? So it's kind of an interesting place for a tarot deck to come from. I love it. So I saw this deck on eBay and it was only $5, and so I couldn't say no to it. You know, yes, it's a used deck, but it is one that was on my wish list of decks that I wanted. And if I can pay $5, the problem that some people have with buying used decks is, I mean, first of all, you want to make sure that they're in good condition. But second of all, they have this thing about, oh, it has somebody else's energy on it. Oh, it's going to be cursed. It's going to have bad juju on it. Well, you know, any object that's used, that can be the case. Now, for me, when I was growing up, it was all about Value Village. Did you have that in your town? And, you know, I grew up in Seattle. It was the 90s, and going to get your grunge clothes, your flannels, and your cardigan sweaters, and your corduroy pants, and all of that was like totally something that you got from the thrift store. So buying things used is like nothing weird to me at all. But tarot cards, yeah, it is a little bit of a different thing because there's a little more energy involved. Although I think anything can have energy. Cardigan sweater can have energy, that's for sure. One of the things that I'm going to show you guys today is how to clean a deck. So how to energetically clear it, especially if it's a deck that you received from somebody else. But also you can use these methods if you just need to clear your deck in general, which I think is a good thing to do every so often. We'll talk about it. So far I see this, and I don't know why I'm like a little bit like, oh, because this belongs to somebody. Now, I did open up that tarot collection, the most epic tarot unboxing ever, where we did all of the collection from Paul. I know a lot of you guys actually have found this channel through that video because that is probably the one that has the most views. But I feel like there's something special about opening up something that meant something to someone. All right, first of all, it's in this little bag. Actually, this is pretty, right? It's feeling very padded, so there's more in here than just the deck. So we have this embroidered bag, and then it looks like these cards are all wrapped up already in a cloth. I mean, they're ready to go, right? Instant tarot reader. So I'll just go ahead and open these, show you what we've got here. Anybody recognize the backs of these cards? This is the Chinese Tarot. And the little book is still in here. The box is gone, but you know what I say, throw the box away anyway. You don't need it. This is exactly how cards should be kept. Wrapped in a cloth, and then you can put them in a bag if you want, but when you have a cloth, you have an instant surface to lay them out on so that you're not just laying your cards out on any other surface, speaking of energy. So we'll set this aside for a moment, and just to take a look at these, I mean, they don't smell bad. They just have like a, I can tell they belong to a girl. Is that fair enough? They have a little bit of like a girly kind of scent to them. I can't really explain it. But they seem to be in decent condition. Typically where cards are going to get dirty is on the edges, because the edges aren't glossy, so they can pick up your oils or dirt from your hand. And it's just hard to tell exactly if these cards are a little bit dirty or if they just sort of naturally look that way. Overall, I mean, I can tell that it's a used deck, but they're not even bent at all. They don't look like they've been used much. They don't even really look like they've been riffle shuffled. They were probably shuffled like this. And they are all shuffled up right now with reversals and uprights. So the Chinese Tarot deck, this is a deck that originally came out in 1989. And I was wanting this deck. I'll show you some of these cards because, of course, they're not going to go in order. But I just really, really loved the imagery of these. This love of Chinese art and design in general is something that I've actually inherited from my grandfather. He was a huge lover of Eastern art. I've shown my shrine in other videos. That was something that I inherited from him. But he had so much that he had collected over his travels and over his lifetime in the way of Far East artifacts and art and furniture and you name it. I mean, this is a man who had like 50 Buddhas in his house. There's actually a really interesting story about the Buddha that's in the shrine that I have. Maybe I'll tell you guys that some other time. These are pretty, right? Now, I don't have a lot of knowledge about Chinese stories. I'm sure that there's meanings to these that is beyond the scope of my frame of reference. But one thing that I think is interesting, okay, we see the coins here. Now, these just look like money to me. I'm not sure. But in China, in the East, the divination goes so far back. I mean, that's where we have one of the oldest forms of divination, which is the I Ching, the Book of Changes, right? That's thousands and thousands of years old. It's one of the oldest Chinese classics. So that form of divination, of course, done using the coins and creating the hexagrams and corresponding with the book. But I don't know, or these aren't I Ching coins, are they? There's 5 of coins, pentacles are the coins. I think that these are just regular money coins. These are the ones that you see like on the good luck talismans. So I do think that in the book, which I'm glad that is here, that there's a story in the majors. Okay, I pulled out some of these majors, which have really interesting stories that go along with them. So I'll share a few of these with you. This is the star, and it says, the star depicts the god of longevity, an old man who is represented by the star Canopus in the constellation Carina. He holds the peaches of the miraculous tree that blossoms only once every 3,000 years, and accompanied by a stag and 2 cranes. Cranes are an emblem of longevity. That's an interesting message for the star, isn't it? Now, instead of calling this card the Hanged Man, it's called the Hanging Ghost. And the book says, in ancient China, being treated badly with no recourse to justice was a reason for suicide. The hanging ghost is the soul of a person who was wronged. It exhorts people to be kind to one another. This card is called the Heavenly Master. And this is the number 5, so this would normally be the Hierophant in a standard deck. Cheng Daoling, or the Heavenly Master, was the first great teacher of Taoism and was known as a great healer and magician. He holds a censer. That's what you use to swing incense with. On his robe is the symbol of yin-yang, the unity of male and female principles, an emblem of creation. Around the yin-yang symbol are the 8 diagrams or hexagrams that denote the elements of nature and corresponding qualities. Yama, portrayed on death, is the ruler of Buddhist hell. The soul that passes before him is not doomed to stay in hell forever, but will pass through various trials before being reincarnated as a human or an animal. Let's take a look at the Empress and the Emperor. I always associate those cards with more of just the Chinese culture anyway. So here we have this pairing. The Empress holds a peony called Flower of Riches and Honors, a symbol of Yang, the male principle, a reference to her consort, the Emperor. A phoenix is behind her, a symbol of peace and prosperity, used as an ornament by empresses of China. The emperor has 2 splendid dragons decorating the wall behind him as symbols of strength and goodness. The 5-clawed dragon was the emblem of imperial power. I do think that I remember that different amounts of claws on the dragon mean different things. I think that I learned that from Japanese tattooing, actually. So this is a really beautiful deck, isn't it? And honestly, for something that was pre-owned, this deck feels good. The energy doesn't feel weird about it. It doesn't feel grimy or anything. But I do want to show you guys how to clear a deck. As I said, this doesn't have to just be clearing it of someone else's energy, but also just clearing it in general. Now, when would I clear my own deck? I like to clear my deck because I am a professional tarot reader, so I do readings throughout the week. I use my deck a lot. I like to give it a good clearing about once a month. When I first started doing readings, though, I cleaned my deck every single day. I felt like it helped me to actually really build a greater bond with my cards. And a lot of times when you're doing energetic clearing, whether it is cards or stones or other objects that you have, other magical implements, it is a ritual. Cleaning is a ritual, and it does help to create a greater understanding. One could even say a greater empathy between the person and the object that they're cleaning. So I do feel, regardless of if you even believe in this idea of things picking up energy, that there is something beneficial from going through the process and thinking of it as a form of communion between you and whatever it is that you're working with. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera down so that you can see what I'm doing with the cards. Okay, so since this deck came with a cloth, we're just going to go ahead and lay that out first of all. Now, one way that I can clean the cards is simply by using the sun. To use the sun to clear the cards is a method of clearing with fire. And to do that, I would typically take my cards outside and do this on the patio, but I could do it inside if I had a very, very sunny window. I would spread the cards out and I would just let them get some sunlight. Like I said, this would be something better to do outside, although I do have some sunbeams, as you can see, coming in. I would give them about 20 minutes on one side, and then when I was done, I would turn them over, and I would cleanse the other side, and just let them get some sunlight. Sunlight is purifying, it's transmuting, and so that can help to clear away any low vibrational energies for your cards. Also kind of help bring them back to life. Don't leave your cards out in the sun all day. So just 15 or 20 minutes on either side would be all that you need. Now, the next method is a little bit more conventional, and that is smudging your cards. This is what I used to do when I did clean my cards every single day. Now, when you're smudging, what you're doing is you are actually using the air element. So the element of air, which corresponds to swords in the tarot, is also the element of the mind. So it's the element of communication, thoughts, words, ideas, all of the things that are coming up when you're doing a tarot reading. So by clearing with the air element, basically what you're doing is you are clearing the old conversation that was had through the cards, you're clearing the old reading, and you're also clearing your own preconceived ideas and your own preconceived notions about what the cards mean, so that you don't get into those ruts of just always saying the same thing when you see a card. And if you ever feel like your readings are starting to get very repetitive and you're not coming up with deeper meanings or new ways of looking at things, try clearing your deck with the air element. What I like to use is sage, and sage usually comes like this bundled up. Of course, if you have wild sage where you live, you can use that. But this, you can see, has already been untied. The way that I like to use it is not to just light this whole thing, but to just take off some of these leaves. One of the things that does not smell good when burning sage is this woody stem. So for those of you who don't like the smell of sage, sometimes it's because that stem has been burning and it doesn't smell good. So you just want to take the leaves off, and these twigs, you don't want to use those. So this sage bundle is actually getting down to the end here. There's some lavender that was in here too. But I'm just going to take these leaves off. And you don't need a ton, but you want to put these in some kind of a heat resistant container. So I just have this little clay dish that I am going to use. And now you're simply going to light that. You can light a piece of that or a couple pieces, and you don't want to actually have it on fire. You just want to have it smoking. So after it gets going a little bit, you're going to blow it out, and then you're going to just pass your cards through the smoke like this. And I like to give them a little bit of like that, and then you turn them over and you do the same thing. Passing them through the smoke. The smoke just helps to carry away any energies you don't need. Now, I have seen people who clear their cards like this, going one at a time. And hey, if you have all day, go ahead. You can absolutely give each of them a clearing. That might be something that if you clear regularly, maybe you do want to do once a month. But what you really, all you really need to do is just to, like I said, just to kind of fan them. They're all still getting smudged that way. And then give them one like this. When you're done using this, you can just kind of stamp that back out again. It's a good use for the stem here. And when you use sage like this, instead of lighting the whole stick, it's much easier to put out. It wastes much less. Again, it doesn't burn that stinky stem part. Also, it's just safer instead of having that big sage wand burning, which can be hard to put out because it's like a cigar. The inside of it can still be burning while the outside you're trying to put it out. So I just find this just as effective and a lot easier. And now you can see I put it out, and these are still going to be able to be used next time. Okay, I had some kind of dodgy sunlight action, so I had to change the angle here a little bit. But actually now you can see the shrine that's in the back there. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little look at the Chinese tarot. Although this deck is out of print, it's still available, and it's something that you can still buy. You can get it for relatively cheap. I will make sure and leave links down below. If you're not already, I'd love it if you guys would subscribe to the channel. It really helps us to grow and helps more people to find it. And also make sure and follow over on Instagram. You can follow along on the stories, and you can also send me your stories. I will repost them about your 30-day challenge, what that is. And leave a comment down below about your challenge. And also, if you have any other kinds of techniques for clearing your deck, if you want to leave that down below, I'd love to see how you do it. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.